Hello, friends. Susan Axelrod here, the confidence coach. You have dropped into what turns out to be the middle of a conversation that I am having with my friend and colleague, Nadine Searle, the Calmer Self Coach. Hello, Nadine.
Hello, Susan.
So, Nadine and I have been friends for several years now, and we have deep, meaningful, transformative conversations. And quite a while ago, we said, it would be helpful for us to record these conversations so others can see two coaches and how we feel and what goes on behind the scenes in our lives. Each of us has learned that there is a truth behind the curtain for every human, that someone could present themselves in such a way. But as I call under the surface, there may be other things going on. So I said to you, you've just dropped into a conversation because as soon as we got online this morning, afternoon for Nadine in England, we got right into the topic of conversation today, which is this: what a difference a year can make. What a difference a year can make. Now, full disclosure, it's the end of a calendar year when we are recording this conversation. But as you'll hear throughout the conversation, there's lots you can do right now, no matter when you dropped into this conversation. So, Nadine, my friend, we were just getting into something very important and very revealing, which you told me I can share, which is this. If anybody has listened to us, they know that you are on a cancer journey. And we have episodes discussing your cancer journey, which is truly, truly life changing for people to listen to. I want to thank you so much for showing up here and sharing your truth and revealing you behind that curtain. And just today we came on to say, talk about what a difference a year can make. And you said to me, talking about a year ago, I looked ahead and I knew where I wanted to be. And to tell you the truth, I'm disappointed. I'm not there. I don't feel like I'm there at all. And I said to you, this is why I really don't have very many friends. So thank you for being my friend. I said to you, what did you honestly do to get to where you wanted to be? Right. So, and that was after a little other discussion where I said to you, were your expectations of yourself appropriate? So let's get into it, Nadine. You said I already have notes, and that was from our conversation before we got started. So you said where I expected to be, and I wrote what I expect of myself. So why don't you talk a little bit about, where you expected to be and where you feel you are?
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy to. Yeah, just as you say, we don't normally put a timestamp on these conversations, but just for clarity, I will say today I had my routine mammogram that highlighted the cancer cells. So
Wow.
it's a significant day, if you like, for me. So a year ago today, I was right in the middle of my treatment. And I was thinking I'd had my first surgery. I was waiting for my second surgery. I was in the middle of chemotherapy still. I'd had my radiotherapy. And I was very much looking at the other side, coming out the other side of this and going, yes, I'll be fit, strong, healthy, everything will be great. And I set myself goals like you do. I thought this is this time next year, like you say, what a difference a year can make. So I was focusing, being very optimistic, being very positive, and going, right, I'm going to do this, 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 and I will be here this time next year. And like you quite rightly said, I'm quite disappointed because I'm not where I thought I would be. That is okay. You straight away said to me, as you always do, well, what have you done? Be kind to yourself. I know that this is what we say to all of our clients, isn't it? But realizing the disappointment and I've got to be honest, frustration that I feel because I'm not there. But I also have to have a reality check and actually realize that I have long-term side effects of my treatment. Everything's good. I'm fine. I'm very grateful. I'm here. It's all wonderful. But there are things to consider that I didn't consider. I still get very tired. I still have neuropathy in my feet, so that affects my activity. There's lots of little things that are not that bad, but they do have an impact. So I'm not the person I was. So those expectations needed to be adjusted. And it is being kind to myself. You're absolutely right. And I would like to say that for everybody. Check in with yourself regularly. See how kind you're being to yourself, because we're very good at being kind to other people, but we're not always good at being kind to ourselves. So that's a big reminder. You always remind me, don't you? And evaluate, what have I done? We have had several conversations, they've been recorded in this podcast series, haven't they, about exercise and routine and valuing yourself and mindset and that kind of thing. And they're all very important daily, I would say, to check in, make sure that actually I'm going right. It's activity, it's little and often. I wanted, one of my goals was to be fitter, stronger, lose some weight, to be healthier. I have changed. Things are going in the right direction, but not as quickly as I had hoped, because as I say, I set those goals, didn't I? So, but to also give yourself permission, I think it's quite an important message to change those goals, readjust, that kind of thing. I actually do, again, I'm going to do a bit of a timestamp on this. Normally at the end of January, beginning of February, I do a workshop, reset your goals, because we always do those New Year's resolutions. And actually end of January, February is a time to look at it again. Did we get it right? Did we adjust? And the honest truth is, at the moment, I need to do that probably monthly. I need to do that more regularly and just go, did I get that right? How am I doing? It's okay. There is progress. And just look. And really, and again, I say this to people, and you do as well, Susan, don't you? Celebrate those little wins all the time, because we don't give ourselves credit enough, do we? And actually, it's easy for me to go, I'm not where I thought I'd be, but actually I'm doing quite well.
I mean, you're doing so much better than well, Nadine. In this room, in this Zoom room, you said to me, I'm afraid I'm going to die.
Yes.
And we are so, because you were terrified of chemotherapy before your cancer experience. And you didn't, you were just terrified of it. And so, as compared to that measure, I think you're doing pretty well, right?
Thank you very much for reminding me. I'm doing pretty well.
You're doing pretty well. And I think what we're seeing here is, if people go and listen to our podcast conversations, they're going to see that we both have that former type A-ish personality of a little bit of perfectionism. And we're revealing here, we still struggle. We've come a long way. You have the Calm Yourself method. I have my Confident Life methodology, and we both use our own methods and each other's, of course. But in some ways, what's coming up for me as you were talking is what we do to ourselves. It's not a problem that you set a goal for yourself. You happen to have a 0 birthday coming. And so 0 birthdays are always, you're turning a decade, you'd be like, oh, it's a big thing and you want to be in a certain place. And honestly, maybe you just set inappropriate goals. I do have a coaching tool we are going to get to shortly regarding this idea that you said you could check in monthly with yourself instead of this big, huge evaluation at the end of the year. All of my tools have come from my own work, and really underlying this, it came out very, very clearly to me just now when you were talking. Underlying all of this, as is always the case, is mindset. The topic, what a difference a year can make, is different from what a difference a year has made. So, Nadine, I could start telling you, my gosh, look at this year. Look at what you've done. Still being in treatment, still getting through the sores, this and that, all the things, and the calendar project, which you got involved in. And we're just a week ago, perhaps maybe 2 weeks ago, you were in, a marketplace, overtly, externally, offering people the opportunity to buy this beautiful calendar to support cancer patients. And however, a year ago, you never would have imagined that you could have been doing that. So I could say to you, damn, woman, look where you did get to, right?
You're so right. And that, as an example, is exactly, when you say that, what a difference a year can make. Who knew? I have gone from someone who was very unhappy with my body, really not confident in front of a camera, not behind a camera, and saying yes, like you always say to me, say yes. Do you say yes? I'm learning to, you encourage me to all the time. Say yes. I said yes to this calendar project. And, I'm a calendar girl, Miss July, I'm out there putting it out there to so many people, which I never, ever thought I would be doing. And so that for myself personally has been a real experience, wonderful experience, and a wonderful thing to do. So yeah, a difference a year can make by saying yes. But also I know how much it's helping other people, because it's a bit inspirational. It gives people hope, and they can see all the calendar girls that took part are giving people hope. But also from the point that this is actually, I'm thinking about coming back to work. This is part of what I want to be planning for next year, what a difference a year can make. And it's opened up doors in that avenue too, by saying yes to something that was deeply personal. And I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. But it's actually opened up so much more. And and you say it all the time to me, don't you? And to everyone else. You just don't know, do you? Opening up, being in
Let's,
conscious awareness and receiving. Big, big, big.
yeah, yes. So, but
I'm learning.
let's apply here. Let's say that your disappointment and frustration, you feel, you have lower stamina, you have neuropathy, and whatever else it might be. You said those two things. You said, I thought I would be fitter, stronger, lose weight, healthier. And so let's apply this thesis. The thesis, what a difference a year can make. If you calculated the number of hours in the last year that you worked on the calendar, let's just say it's probably been certainly 50 hours in the time, from the time that you kind of got involved, and including the time that you've been thinking about it and integrating it in order to then be able to support the creator of this calendar and go to marketplaces and various things. Let's just pick a random number. Let's say 50. It's quite possible it's double that in several months time, but let's just say it's 50. So of those hours, if you had a vision for something else, I would call this physical, because these are all kind of physical things that you brought up, then you did that instead of this.
Yeah.
So now we have reality in our lives. We're only human. Every human has the same number of hours, and every human should be sleeping 8-ish hours, more or less, depending on knowing yourself. And even if you're not sleeping, there's resting. So, et cetera, 196 hours in a week, you only have so much time. And sometimes it is an either or situation in the new world of moderate consciousness, of being in balance, of being centered, as we talk about, and feeling grounded. And we're not in the all right now place that we used to be in the patriarchy. We're in a very different place today. And so realistically, even if you, let's just say 50 hours, even if you had said, but that project was important to me, then we say, oh, well, then that is the difference the year made for you. Or I'm going to take 10 of those hours and focus on the physical. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah, yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Like you say, to remember that, because that, you know, as I say, a calendar as an example, you know, that came into my world. I wasn't expecting it. And then you're absolutely right. It took time. Physically, it took time, but you're right, mentally as well, because I did need to prepare. I did need to push myself to do this. So mentally, and I think what came up for me when you were saying that, is remembering to have that balance of activity and rest and recuperation, because that's so important with any. And I'm really, this is a big life lesson for me too. I thought I had it sorted out, but obviously I'm still learning. But it is that, you know, every bit of activity that I do, much as I love it and I want to do it, and some of it is unexpected, you know, not a lot of it is actually, I need to have the rest and recuperation as well, more than I ever did. And that might be the way that I'm going to be going forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's that balance. But also, like you said about the mindset, it's the time to prepare as well, to take the time. So it's a little bit of rest and, well, it's not called rest and recuperation, is it?
Rest and recovery. Rest and
Yeah,
recovery.
yeah, it's almost like I need that before, but it's not for that reason. It's actually to get myself in the right place first. And honestly, Susan, and again, it's reminding me, when I used to do more physical therapies with people, what, you know, back in the day when I was doing more Reiki, I used to take time before I saw a client. I would be preparing myself physically, emotionally, mindset, everything. Take that time. I factored that in, and afterwards as well, so that I was doing that. So I was looking after myself as much, if not more, as I was my client. And things like this calendar project, it's all come up. I get so overexcited because I do. It's wonderful. I'm not giving myself those spaces before and after.
Wow.
And I think that is key, isn't it? For every activity, everything that we do, to give ourselves a bit of space before and after as well is I think important. So that's a reminder that I'm saying out loud here for myself. But again, I want everyone else to think about that. You know, do we rush from one thing to another without actually giving ourselves a moment? And I'm
So
big on that snatch a moment of calm. I used to say a lot, didn't I? But it's more than that now. It's actually, it's not snatching, it's giving yourself and taking that time and really, really focusing, because mindset is so important. You know, like you're just saying, you know, I do a bit of exercise, you know, I'm fitting it in, but am I actually preparing myself in a way that maybe is beneficial, giving myself that mindset time? And am I congratulating myself afterwards, giving myself time to go, yeah, that was good? You know, I've got to, the honest truth is, no, I'm not. So that's, again, let's factor that in.
right, exactly. So again, you're we're going to get to this coaching tool in a second, but
Yeah,
I just want to say, so I'm mindful that we're at a life stage where we have more time, and I do work with young professionals and a growing number of young professionals. It's a cohort I'm completely committed to, and they have children and they have careers and marriages and they have parents and community volunteering and friends, et cetera. It's a busy time of life. And I'm very clear. The people who work with me, they know. I'm very clear. I spend a lot of time with them. I'm very clear on the things of giving myself time to prepare. I wrote come into it, be in it, and then review it. Right. And in the review it, it's like congratulate myself, you said, for getting something
yeah,
done.
yeah.
And that the patriarchal concept that you can do it all, get it all done all right now, it didn't go well for us. And that's not the way going forward. So I do know for myself, you used the phrase rest and recovery. In my trauma of losing my husband, my friend, my dear friend Leela, would say to me, eventually, she said to me, you need rest and recovery, those exact words. And I had never, rest and recovery wasn't a thing for me. I did one thing and moved to the next thing, and I was fine, fine in quotation marks. That seemed to work for me. But in this big trauma, she said, I would say, like, I'm finding that I'm not doing anything. And one day she said, "You're in rest and recovery." And that phrase made such a difference for me. I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, just like as if you were working out, you're in rest and recovery. And it really was a transformative moment for me, that from then on, I said, oh, I'm in rest and recovery from, in my case, a long trauma, in your case, a long illness, if you want to call it long. And so I think these points are so important. As I always do, I want to invite our listeners or viewers to play all of this back, even just to this point, and listen again here. I want to acknowledge the younger cohort, the sandwich generation, etc. I'm not saying, oh, all that and this too. No, I'm not saying all that and this too. I said to Nadine, well, you made a choice. Something awesome presented itself to become Miss July in a calendar of only 12 people who are cancer patients or cancer survivors, or however you phrase that, and having a photo shoot and using this as an opportunity to raise money to support a worthy organization, etc. And you said yes to it. When you said yes to it, you said yes, just like we talked about, say yes to if opportunity presents itself, but maybe you didn't do an assessment or an analysis or an evaluation of like, well, if I say yes to that, when am I going to fit my workouts in? You have neuropathy, maybe you need physical therapy. If you're over there doing that, you can't go to a PT appointment, and so on. And so it could be said, if I evaluate it, then maybe I have to say no to this year's calendar. Or, right, that would be terrible. You would have lost an amazing experience. Or you say, I'm going to say yes to this calendar while I'm also more in my consciousness focused on the health and wellness, or the physical bucket, as I call it. So do you see what I'm saying there? It's like, we have a lot in our lives and we have to do a lot. We want to do a lot. And a lot all at once is not the answer.
Yeah, I think that's so key, isn't it? And you're absolutely right. I could look back and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said yes. No, might have been a better thing for me. But on balance, no, it wasn't. I don't regret it. I don't want anyone to think that. But you're absolutely right in that, making sure that I made time for all the things that were on my plan for the year, because they did go by the wayside, without a doubt they did. And I'm not going to make any bones about it. But also, where you talked about, I want to pick up on your point again of your rest and recovery after your bereavement. When you've gone through that loss and that grief and you're feeling, and sometimes we just plow through, we get on, we do things, as so many of us do. We've got tons to do, we get on with it. But I think it's important as well to, what people do sometimes is they're not really feeling what they want to feel, what they need to feel, because we just get on, don't we? And we don't give ourselves time to grieve, to really recognize the loss and the feelings. So again, that feeling, we talked about it before, again, feeling those feelings, not to be rushing through the process, the grief process, the recovery process. Everyone's going through something, aren't they?
Right.
And again, 2 of my steps of my calmer self method, as you well know, one of them is how to sit with difficult emotions, not to be frightened of our feelings, sit with them, because then learning comes from it, peace comes from it, moving those emotions comes from that. But also the gentle questioning that I do so often, and I've got to be honest, I haven't given myself that time to do those things as well, and they're so important, aren't they? I know you've been through them with your grief process and probably still visit those from time to time. That's important. That's the stillness, the peace, the quiet, the rest and recovery, whatever you want to call it, that we need to fit in as well, because that's for our soul, for our heart, our spirit. And if we rush through and we're being too active all the time, we're missing that.
Right.
And it just doesn't work like that, does it? We
I
need
will,
to.
I will say, over I honestly did give myself an entire year. Once my husband died and the trauma and this and that and all the things, it happened that it was November. So it was close to the end of the year as it happened. And as I came to the end of that year and the beginning, these are my tools. I use them. I'm always reflective. I use multiple points in a year to reflect and assess and evaluate and account. And I did. I mean, I could point it to you in my journal. I'm going to take a year. I turned my own accountability group into a self-care accountability group for the entire year, which I had never done before. And I really did this. And over the course of the year, I did hold myself to account for that. I did stop and evaluate. I'm realizing so much of what I did. And then by the end of that year, I did feel better and I did feel good and I did close. I was able to, and I hired our mutual friend Cornelia Stephanie to do emotional processing and some grief work with me. I saw my therapist. For quite a long time after that. You and I had countless discussions. People could hear us talk about the time I called you sobbing. I boxed you sobbing and so on. And my friends and family supported me as well. And so then when I came to the end of the year and I evaluated, I wrote it down. How am I doing? This is a question in my coaching method that I work with clients and that I actually do use all the time. And so I guess I might give you a homework assignment to have a conversation with yourself and say to her, when you make time for this, how am I doing? Am I more disappointed? Am I more disappointed and frustrated in all that I didn't do? Or am I happier in what I did do? I rocked, it on this side. So like sometimes we can help ourselves feel better. And when we feel better, then you're going to be like, damn, I'm going to go do a little workout.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to accept that assignment?
yes, I love it. Give me homework. I love
Okay.
it. Give me homework. Wonderful. I've written it down. But yes, it's so important, isn't it? Because yes, I can be, oh, I didn't do this and everything, but I did something else and it made me feel good. It gave me something different. So really, and like you say, that really helps with your mindset, doesn't it? And you're moving forward. And I
It's
know
ridiculous.
it's so ridiculous. And actually, so simple too, Susan, isn't it? So simple too. If only we remember to do it. So thank you for my homework. I take that. I accept it. And it is very much, again, it's one of my little meditations that I've got on my YouTube channel. I share with people all the time. Just a minute to tune in to you.
Yeah.
What do I need? What do I feel? That kind of thing. Because again, I'm as guilty as anyone else. I don't do it always, and these are the tools that are there, aren't they? Like you say, we teach people to do it. We do it ourselves. I have hands up. I don't always do it enough. And
Right.
I'm only giving.
Well, as I say, sometimes we fail. It's like, oh, I'm not trying. Don't tell me you're trying. I'm not trying. No, no, trying, no, trying. No, I know what I have to do. I know what helps me. I know what I could do. I know what I should do. I know all those things. I've thought about it. Etc. And then I intend to do them. Sometimes I fail. It's
Yes,
not like,
and
yeah,
exactly. And yes, I do. Hands up, I do. And I
right.
think, and I had underestimated, to be honest, Susan, I'd underestimated how the fatigue hits me. I really underestimated that. I thought I could push through that. I know years ago that's what I used to do, and that didn't serve me well. And so partly I can't do it so much because of, like you say, I'm turning a zero number the next year. Partly my age, partly my treatment plan, what I've been through, but also partly because I don't want to do that to myself anymore. Pushing through isn't the answer. I've learned, as
Mm,
I say, time the hard way, that didn't do me any good. So I am giving us, whereas I feel tired, I feel exhausted with things, these wonderful activities that I do, and I will go, right, I need to rest. Whereas when I look back on my younger self, one of your wonderful podcasts and books, that we've talked about, I wasn't giving myself that. I do now. And I
Right.
go again and again to bring up one of your wonderful podcasts and books that we've talked about so much, Dear Future Self. What will I be saying? And one of your wonderful tools that I remind myself of frequently is to say, what could, dear future self, what am I doing today to help you? What am I doing? I know I haven't quoted that exactly how you
Yeah,
say it, but
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
gist of it, isn't it? And that's a really, really valuable tool that you have given me, and I know you give to your clients all the time, to go, right, okay, what am I doing today? And it just keeps it in the now, keeps it, you are talking to your future self, you're going, it's almost like, what will your future self be thankful for that you did, looking at it that way as well, when you put it into perspective, and again, this helps your mindset and keeps it really focused, doesn't it? To go, okay, I can do one thing today that my future self is going to be grateful for. That's simple. But if I don't take the time to focus and think like that, like you say, be in the conscious awareness, which you say so often,
Right.
then I'm missing that, aren't I? Missing it
Right.
completely.
Completely missing it. And you could drink through it, you could drug through it, you
Yeah.
could gamble through it, you could binge through it, you could scroll through it, you could, all the things easily. And so yeah, it's dear future self.
Mm.
I am doing everything in my power today to support you, AKA asking yourself the question, what am I doing for my future self? So I'm going to screen share now, and
Yes.
we're going to talk about this coaching tool. So can you see my screen, Nadine?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, in the context of what you were talking about, for example, I call these the 8 self care buckets. This has come to me over a long period of time. I've done a lot of work with this coaching tool for myself, and it's come up several times today. That's why I want to share it. So, I keep all my work very simple. So, I call it a bucket. So a bucket is either full or empty. You can dip into it, you can fill it. And so I want to really share this with our viewers today, and I'll speak it out for our listeners. It's a picture of buckets, and it says 8 buckets of well-being. Which are you filling today? It doesn't say, are you filling all of them today? It says, which are you filling? It's possible that you're strapping and you could fill 4 of them at a time. But most of us really can't do that because there's so much else going on in our lives. But I created this simple tool. Each bucket is a different color and has a word on it. I'll go over them very quickly so that we can really be in the conscious awareness of the different areas or aspects of our lives. People might be familiar with the life tool. There's a coaching tool called the life wheel or whatever. All the tools are exactly the same. It only matters which one speaks to you and works for you. So the buckets here are creative, play, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, physical, and connection. Now, if you want to look, we did an entire podcast conversation on the importance of social connection. That's on both of our YouTube channels. And so today with Nadine, because she always allows herself to be the model, the case study, I think we would be talking about the physical bucket because she shared with us about stamina and neuropathy and getting fitter and stronger and losing weight and feeling healthier. And we talked about needing time in the new way of the world, needing time for rest and recovery. It's so energetically deep just now when you said the words, you underestimated how the fatigue would hit you, Nadine. And I felt grief fatigue in my entire body. There were times I would just have to sit down and do nothing, in quotation marks, or lay down on my bed. And I feel the energy of fatigue that you talked about and that people have today. And so this all is designed to support a less fatigued life, a more vital, activated life. So the buckets are here. Today, we're going to talk a bit about the physical bucket. Now, this is a standard one. People need to lose weight and get active. And, we know that when you feel better, you actually do better. I just said it to Nadine before we came in. And that was when we were talking about something and the energy comes up, and when you feel better, you can be like, you know what, I'm gonna take that weight and lift it, or I'm gonna get the dog out for a walk, or I'm gonna do a full mile instead of down the block and back. When you feel better, then you can do better. But when you feel worse, you do less. Do you understand that, Nadine?
Totally, totally. And I think, again, this comes back to something, it's reminding me again of something that we talk about a lot, is how the music makes me feel better, and I use music for my physical activity. As you know, I have my morning kitchen discos I share with you sometimes. But a bit of music and a bit of movement, then I feel better and then I do better. So that, again, that's one of my tools. If I'm not feeling it, then the right kind of music, choosing a playlist or one particular song even that will lift that mood, makes me have physical action. So that works. That's a tool that I know works for me.
It totally works. It's totally cardio. It's totally body movement. I love your kitchen disco. I love it when you send me the songs. I love the idea of kitchen disco, because people are in their kitchens. All they need to do is put on a song that makes them feel. And my friend Leela does this as well. I've been there. I've watched her, and she's got music and she's talking to me up here, right? But down there, her body is moving. I swear to God. So I love this. I love the reminder. Music absolutely is a positive motivator. So compatible with this piece, I'm sharing another of my coaching tools, which for me has been a little compulsive over the years. In my old type A days, I was very compulsive about evaluating and measuring. And, but the question is, what are you evaluating and measuring yourself against? As we identified early in our conversation with you, Nadine, you were evaluating and measuring the disappointment against something that might not have been a reasonable self-expectation. So we're in the world of reason. We're in the slow world. We're in the long game world. And then if God has other plans for us, we would have done well along the way. That's how I say it. So what's in front of me now is a calendar. And I titled it, What a Difference a Year Can Make. Now, this is where we're going to get granular, Nadine, and we're going to be more specific than a lot of times we're in the feminine nurturing. It's all okay. Everything's okay. You're doing okay. We love you anyway. But for right now, at this time, I feel very compelled. Nadine, I realized in our last podcast conversation, I really had my ire raised up. I said, there's no excuse for people to not do better for themselves. I was like, oh, damn, that wasn't really nice, But this time, I'm feeling very urgent about this. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. And I thank you for taking the time to do this with me, Nadine. So I created a calendar which has quarters in colors. It doesn't matter what the 4 colors are, although I could talk to you about color psychology, but I won't right now. There's 4 quarters in a year. Each quarter has 3 months. And of course, the calendar itself has 12 months. So a month is an easier time to focus on than a year. A month is a manageable time allotment, 30-ish days. And another thing that's important about the calendar, and why I've used it for many, many, many years in my coaching, is every single person has the same experience with the calendar. Okay, in the Jewish calendar, we go from night to night. Yes, I realize that, some calendars may be marginally different, but in the world of universality, as I might say, every person has a shared experience of the calendar. And I believe this universal energy is an important application in this coaching tool. So in January, in every month, it says the same thing. It says bucket, vision, goal, and progress. So this is important, Nadine. We're going to just fill in the physical bucket for now in our discussion with you. And then we have only 1 month, just 1 month. And I'm very clear in my Discovering You Again course that I created in 2018. And also in my intuitive business system, the vision is always the very first thing that I talk about. So the very first session of a year-long online course that I created was about vision. And so here we're just making a little vision for the month. Now, I do realize there is life, Nadine. Now you're a famous calendar model, frankly. And if somebody called on you, you've been doing medias with, the mainstream media, interviews with mainstream media and so on. So now you're well known, and, there may be considerations that you really have to keep in mind. But if we have the physical bucket, then I would ask you to consider what is the vision in the month of January that you want to have. And then from there, we could set a goal. You just talked about it earlier. A lot of times people set New Year's goals or, goals, and they don't achieve them. But this is only a goal for a month of 30 days. And then at the end, I have progress. So another thing you said it, Nadine, you said that you need you to be taken into account. I call that accountability. And that's my work as a coach and your work as a coach. And that is absolutely the game changer. I have videos on this. I do a lot of work on this, the accountability. This can be your own accountability tool, but it would be great if you could do it with someone else. So if you think about this, and again, I won't hold you to anything because you didn't even know we were going to do this today, Nadine. What might you consider as a vision for the month of January? 100% of anything you imagine, including that your entire vision for January might be rest. What might your vision for January be in the physical bucket?
The first thing that's coming to mind is activity, is movement. To make sure my vision is to be moving, and I'm keeping it really simple here, just to get that movement in every day. So my vision is to feel moving. So again, to get myself moving, because I've got a lot of achy joints and everything as well, So bearing in mind that I've got a tendency to want to hibernate, is that if I go, my vision is to give myself a movement, then that is where I'm sort of seeing, and that's what I'm picturing. I'm sort of going, well, if I move a bit every day, that's my sort of vision.
Great. Yeah. So I have a coaching tool I call SMR, Simple Movement Routine. And so we're going to talk about that offline. I'm going to talk to you about SMR because if you did kitchen disco 5 minutes a day, that would meet your vision, unless you say to yourself, oh no, that's not what I meant. That's not enough.
No, but that's what I want to sort of, what I want to get across to myself and to everyone else. It doesn't have to be a lot, does it? It's just something.
So now we're going to the goal. So now we're going to the goal, which is different from the vision. The vision is, I want to be moving. I want daily movement in my life. I can feel it from my joints, etc. Yeah. Now we might set a little goal here for only 30 days. And that what comes up for you, your life. I don't need to get into it, in the context of your life as it is, not as you wish it would be if everything were perfect. That's never going to happen. As it is, what you do every day. You wake up and you go to bed and everything in between. So what might a realistic goal be for yourself for 30 days?
Yeah. I would say to make sure that I am moving I would put it on I'd put a little time on it to say at least 20 minutes every day. And to go, I don't know if this will go into, I don't know if I'm crossing over the lines a little bit, but because I always remember this motion is lotion.
Yes.
Because I've got the achy feelings and everything, the more I move, and it's a bit like surreal in a way, isn't it? If I move, then it's going to hurt less. And I know that. So that little bit of movement, and actually then my goal would be to have less pain, more flexibility, less pain.
So the vision is that the daily movement will create less pain, let's say, or
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's part of the vision. The goal
yeah,
is that I do activated intentional movement at least 20 minutes a day.
yeah.
That's a
And for
goal
this,
because you can't measure the outcome of the goal is going to be
that's where I
motion
thought I'm
isolation.
probably crossing lines here, but
Yeah.
that's nice for you to clarify it for me. But that's where I feel, and again, this is where the music kicks in because it's easier for me. I go, well, how many songs is that? How many tunes am I going to enjoy, to move with? Rather than actually go 20 minutes of workout or whatever, that doesn't float my boat
Oh my
kind of thing.
God, that's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
simpler, isn't it? Go, oh, okay, how many lovely songs can I jig about to? How many, because that makes it easy and joyful for me. And again,
right.
that's mindset, isn't it? That's doing it.
So
So
as
yeah,
an example, right away, you'd be like, oh, that's a 10-song playlist,
yeah, yeah,
an 8-song playlist,
yeah,
8 to 10 song
yeah.
playlist.
Mhm.
Now to support this goal of 20 minutes a day, which supports the vision, which
Mm.
is to be moving daily because motion is lotion,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
And a result of that is going to be less achy. We're keeping this simple right now.
yeah,
Um, then right away, that's obvious. We haven't done that podcast conversation on music yet, but we're going to do that. But right
we
away,
are.
you said to yourself, you went to a place that was familiar to you and that works for you and so on. For me, it used to be like, well, if I go to the gym, I get to be in the sauna.
Yeah,
If I go to the gym, then I get to go to the sauna. Then if I got myself to the gym because I wanted to be in the sauna, then I was like, I only need to do 10 minutes in the gym. But I inevitably did 20 or 30 minutes in the gym. And then I went to the sauna. And so I love 20 minutes a day of movement. I can think already of some of the songs that are going to be on your playlist.
yeah, yeah,
And then, basically you could drill down if you want. When am I going to do that in a day? 20 minutes a day means 20 minutes every day. If that's what you mean, then when every day are you going to do this? Now it's like, damn, if I get to listen to my music, well, of course, I'm walking my dog every day. And now I'm going to do, instead of a quick 6-minute around the block, I'm going to do 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a mile, or it could be a mile and a half,
yeah.
depending on your
About,
pacing. And if
yeah,
you did that, you'd be walking 7 miles a week. And if you did that, you'd be walking about 30 miles a month ish, in round
yeah.
terms.
And
So
this takes me into the way you're just describing that, into that, oh, what I will achieve and how I can congratulate myself. I'm already doing that. Because that could be that. And I'd like to say, this is extra. My doggy walkings are for the doggies. They're not really for me. So what I'm talking about extra, and where you,
now, but wait, it's not that you're just talking about extra. What you really mean, that's why this is important. What you really mean is, I think what you really mean is, you said in addition to dog walking, which is considered both strength training and cardio, I think you mean strength training.
yeah, yeah, probably, because it's a different type of, it's more specific, isn't it? So you're probably right, because I do want to build my strength and my muscle too.
Well, I'm just really
Yeah,
asking because
yeah,
you said now you got more granular. I want to do 20 minutes of a day in addition to my dog walking.
yeah, yeah, which it is actually. Yeah, that in my mind, I had that. Yeah, I didn't
I
say
know.
it.
So now what is it that you think you want to do? What is it that you think you need to be doing in the physical? Lifting weights, or what is it?
Yeah,
Cardio?
yeah, it's for me, it is, as I say, when the dog walking is, yes, it's stamina, it's movement and that kind of thing. But to me, this is more specific for what I need to do for my body and for my strength, because I want to get my muscle tone. I want to get that strength. And again, as I've said before, this is for my confidence too. So that's really, really key for me to
So
do that.
now, yeah, so now, first of all, your dog walking is strength training.
Yeah,
Your dog walking could be cardio if you hasten it up a little bit. But now we're more specific and say, no, what I really meant was I want to build my muscles.
yeah, yeah,
And so that would be 20 minutes of weightlifting a day. I could say strength training, but weightlifting. Now, what we know is that you can do things without even weights by
yes, exactly. Yeah,
by resistance, right?
yeah,
By resistance. And I did that before I started working with weights. I did that for a long
mm,
time. But so basically, now that we're like visiting with this, you want to develop muscle tone.
yeah,
And if we did 20 minutes a day developing muscle tone, what a difference a year can make.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you might say, well, actually, no, I don't think I should do 20 minutes a day with weights. So maybe I mean 20 minutes 3 times a week or something,
yeah.
whatever you decide.
I think that, yeah, that's more realistic and probably a more long-term goal kind of thing, because yeah, to maybe one day on, one day off, that kind of thing, because that's good too.
And so now we're going to leave this with you. And now you would go back to the vision because weight training, building muscle tone is a different vision
Yeah,
than daily movement. You already do daily movement. You already walk your dogs. You already made an assumption, which other people didn't know. You already walk your dogs probably multiple times a day. They have to go out. And so you get to decide, no, what I really meant was or it could be both, because in
yeah,
January you could just do increase your movement a little bit because motion is lotion. In
yeah,
February you can say that's going to be when I'm going to really start using some 2 pound weights or to
yeah,
develop my muscle tone such that by the end of the year I want to see muscles. That's completely realistic. You're not going to be a bodybuilder,
no,
but
no,
if you do that, if you actually did 20 minutes of weight training 3 times a week in 1 month's time, you're going to be like, what's happening here? I feel muscle. Now, if you stop after that, you won't, but if you have accountability, you will. So, and so on and so forth. Now, at the end, it says progress. That's your evaluation. That's your testing yourself. How did I do? So, again, Nadine, the purpose of this coaching tool is more granular because you and I know when you feel better, you do better. And when you like when you started out saying, well, I don't feel that well. I'm disappointed that I didn't meet my own expectations. But eventually we were like, are you kidding? You rocked it. And you'd be like, damn, I really did.
yeah, yeah,
And so I am intentionally calling in. This is a more masculine energy tool. It's not necessarily feminine energy. The feminine energy benefits because feminine energy is about feeling. Let's say masculine energy is about doing. Let's say keep it very simple. But I really deeply felt that this came up in me now. This is what is needed now for a lot of reasons. So all the way through the year, at some point, I have the second quarter is in a beautiful bright pink. And then, by June, you're halfway through the year. And by June, at halfway through the year, if you never filled in a single thing, you can still say, you know what, I have the whole second half of the year. Blue is the third quarter, green is the fourth quarter, green is the heart chakra color, blue is the voice, the throat chakra color, and for self, like speaking for self. And so I so you can do it then. People may be watching this, it may be September. So what? You still got a quarter. You
Yeah.
have these manageable things. But they're literally in boxes. Also, I use circles a lot myself because circle is a more feminine energy visual. Boxes are more masculine energy visual, but this is designed and intentional, that we would actually be able to get to the end of the year and even 1 or 2 months in a year be like, oh, I nailed that one. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing now, showing the calendar, and come back to Nadine. And wow, this was a long conversation, I realized, but does that coaching tool, does that feel like useful?
Yeah, it really does, because it's really nailing it down. And I've got to say as well, the value of talking it through, like, because like you say, I said something that start, then you actually go, no, this is maybe what it means. So these is why we share these conversations, isn't it? Not the only reason, but one of the most important ones is that when you say something out loud, for a start, there is power in it. There is accountability in saying something out loud. I just realized what I've said here, that is recorded.
That's awesome.
That it's true, isn't it? But also it does it gets clarity of thought, doesn't it, and focus when you say something out loud, and especially when you share it with someone else, you can have that conversation, which is what we do so often. We do record a lot of it, but we have a lot of private conversations that are so valuable, aren't they, just to get that clarity and focus. So I would encourage anyone to talk to someone else about it. You don't have to do a podcast like we do, but share those ideas, talk something through so you get that focus and clarity. A coaching tool like you've just demonstrated, it helps massively too. Having a coach helps massively too. I can't underestimate that enough. But also, again, I'd like to remind everyone about that asking for help. I didn't ask you for help on this specifically, but it is really helpful. So maybe inadvertently I did ask you for help. I don't know. This is how the world works, isn't it? I don't know. But it is, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing for the year. I don't know what I'm doing. Talk to someone, employ a coach, so that you get some focus and clarity, accountability, so that you can actually get clear on what you're doing. Because you've just said something to me that is really, really simple to do. But there's so much power in it, isn't there? And optimism. And I can go, oh yeah, I can see that. I can see the value. I can see what's going on. I've got a bit of a plan. I've got homework. It's great. It's really great. And we didn't, like you say, we didn't plan any of this, did we?
Right.
But that's through having a conversation, we get somewhere, I would say massive. So thank you for all of that. And I hope everyone else gets the feeling of that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Also, Nadine knows very, very well. It's amazing she's still my friend because she knows I'll be coming back to her and saying, how are we doing on that? Anyway, because accountability does make the difference, while also I can lovingly say, wow, you said that you were disappointed in not achieving X, Y, and Z. And I was like, but look at what you did do. There's one thing that we know for sure, and that an exercise like this can't hurt. It can hurt if it demotivates you. But Nadine has just clearly said you could work with a coach, you could hire and invest in a coach. It's an investment in yourself, or you could really talk to your BFF or someone with whom maybe it's not even your best friend, somebody you know a little bit more casually, where you really feel accountability. You can join a group, you can create a group. But I do feel that in these times, a little bit more granular attention to detail on whichever bucket speaks to you is very, very important today. So Nadine, I really do this work. And I created the buckets. I'm aware of all the buckets. I'm going to take my time to think of which bucket I'll be committing to. And I think for me, it's going to be more like in a month's time, it's going to be this bucket or that bucket. I have been in the physical bucket, filling it up for many, many years. My Fit Life journey came from wanting to get off anxiety medication. I've never been on it since because of all the buckets that I work consciously to keep in mind and keep filled as much as possible, even though we just said, in an entire year's time, most of my buckets were low. or even empty. But I gave myself permission to, work through that and rise later on. So, Nadine, wow, this was deep today. We covered a lot, didn't we?
We did. We
Yeah.
didn't intend to go quite so deep, but it's really, this is how it goes, isn't it? And I'm so grateful. It's really, really beneficial. And I know it will be to so many other people too, to listen to this. And as you always say, listen more than once, make notes, put something into action, because that's what we want for people to do. I know I've got homework I'm going to be doing something. But it's good and it's valuable, isn't it? Yes, we can listen to this. People listen to podcasts while they're doing something else most often, don't they? But there is so much to be had for taking the time, and like you say, with make notes and really take notice and do something with what we've said, because and all of our podcasts, there's a lot that you can take from them, isn't there? So, and this one especially. So thank you very much for all of that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the same. I listen to podcasts when I'm walking. I'm not taking notes usually. So I listen to them multiple times, or I just integrate them. And that's, the question is, what today has resonated with you? What today? And if you need a tool, there's tools available to you. All right, my friend, as always, wishing you the best, and already looking forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much.